And with that, look inside this very special midweek edition of Big Ten Today, fueled by Gatorade. Rick Pizzo alongside Elena Sklar. And the reason it is a special edition, we are set to reveal the 2024 Big Ten Volleyball year-ending awards. This always an exciting day for players, coaches, and those of us who cover the sport.
It's so fun to get to give these athletes their flowers. They've been playing some incredible volleyball all season long, and now we get to just highlight them and give them their flowers, and it's so great. They're amazing players. Love getting to talk about all of them.
This level of volleyball unmatched throughout the country. Unbelievable to watch night in and night out as we begin with our big story and the reveal of those who make the first team as unanimous selections. 7 players on every single ballot. Raina Terry, the outside hitter from Illinois. Julia Hansen really broke out this season for the Gophers. Andy Jackson in the middle. Lexi Rodriguez, her teammate from Nebraska. Mimi Collier, the one representative from one of the 4 new Big Ten schools. Jess Merzick done it at a couple of different locations at a very high level. And Sarah Franklin, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Year. We reveal the rest of the All-Big Ten team in just a minute. But first, Elaine, I want to get your thoughts on those 7 players who were chosen as unanimous and if there were any that potentially could have also been on that list.
I mean, we have our usual suspects there. Sarah Franklin, Lexi Rodriguez, Jess Merzick, Raina Terry, of course. I love seeing Julia Hansen. She put the conference on notice this season and has carried Minnesota. Love seeing her on that list unanimous. Mimi Collier did it in the Pac-12, doing it in the Big Ten. And then Andy Jackson, who in my opinion is one of the most improved players in all of the country, deserving to be unanimous, which is fantastic. I'm a bit surprised to not see Eva Hudson on that list.
I was shocked, actually.
Eva Hudson led the conference in kills per set and double-digit kills in every single match this season. She has been the star player on Purdue and also, in my opinion, one of the front runners for Big Ten Player of the Year, who we'll find out shortly. And then Bergen Reilly, who runs one of the best offenses in the country, one of the best setters in the country, my favorite setter to watch in the whole country. I'm also surprised that she's not unanimous. Those 2 players, giving them a little bit more fuel under their belts going to the NCAA tournament.
And of course, she did win the Setter of the Year during her freshman year, did Bergen Reilly last year for Nebraska. I think, Elena, though, it just speaks to not just the talent in this league, which we see on a nightly basis, but the depth within each team and within this league. So many squads go 2 or 3 deep at every position that have all Big Ten caliber talent.
Absolutely, and I mean, I just named a couple there that could be unanimous as well. There's so many players in this conference that are so good that we'll get into who all got first team as well. There's more names on that list I could rattle off as well. Emily Londot, Raven Colvin, those are some players I think could be unanimous first team All Big Ten as well. But the players we saw there, I'm so impressed with all of them, and they could all be first team All-Americans at the end of the season as well.
And speaking of first team All-Americans, it is time for us to reveal the Player of the Year. And for the second straight season, it is Wisconsin outside Sarah Franklin. Franklin averaging nearly 4.5 kills per set this season. It's the highest by any Badger in nearly 20 years. And Franklin is also feeling it lately as Wisconsin heads into the postseason. She has posted double-digit kills in 21 straight matches. Say hello to the Big Ten Player of the Year with today's big interview as Sarah Franklin joins us from Madison. This is becoming old hat, Sarah, 2nd year in a row. I'm curious, how does this one and your reaction compare to last year, which, if I recall correctly, came a little bit as a surprise to you?
Just a little bit. It's nice to know a little bit before the interview. I did have to go up to Kelly and say, "Hey, did I get it this year? Did I not? I just want to be prepared for this interview tomorrow."
So how does it compare winning it a second year to winning it the first year?
I think it's amazing. I think it's, again, just goes to show the Badger volleyball and how they're able to put me in this position to be able to get that. And, you know, I'm just doing the best volleyball that I can so that we can be the best as a team.
You do join a very short list of players that have won this on multiple occasions. Do you think to yourself how crazy that is when you think of some of the names that were able to do this in either back-to-back years or at least twice throughout their Big Ten volleyball careers?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I can't even like fathom that I'm in the same category as a lot of these people. I know Stephanie Samity, who I played against when I first got to college. I was like, there's no way I'll be able to like live up to anything like that, because I was just so in awe of the things that she was able to do. So it's definitely crazy.
And you are the first player to go back-to-back since Stephanie did it with Minnesota. I know that, Sarah, a lot has been written, a lot has been talked about you overcoming potential career-ending situation a few years ago. And while that may be in the rear view for you when you take the court, I'm curious as to whether having gone through that makes awards like this a little bit more special, more meaningful.
I mean, definitely. Awards like this are definitely a little more special, with something to where you don't know if you could have been playing again. It's definitely in the rear view when I get back out on that court, and it really comes into play when things are getting tough, or I'm like, wow, my body really hurts. It's something that will stick with me for a really long time, but I'm glad that was able to be a part of my journey, and I think it's made me a better player overall.
No question, you didn't just come back, you came back bigger, stronger, seemed to jump a little bit higher. I know there are a lot of hitters in this league that can deliver the ball at tremendous pace, but it seems to come off your hand harder than anybody else's. I'm not asking you to give us a physics lesson, but what is it that goes into your setup and delivery that allows you to hit it with the velocity that you do?
Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I just kind of go up there and I want to win so bad that I'm like, I'm going to put all my might into this ball, and that just kind of comes with what I'm doing. So I think there's a lot of other girls in the Big Ten who can do a lot of the similar power shots. So I definitely just kind of try and get up there and hit it as hard as I can.
But there's also strategy, right, that goes along. It's not just about the power and the physicality. You have that wonderful open hand cross-court shot that you can hit as well, if not better than anybody else who plays. So how much, when you go up, is it based on simply athleticism and power? How much are you thinking as you get to the apex of your jump about what you want to do with each particular shot?
It definitely depends. It depends on if it's in system, out of system. A lot of the times when it's out of system, I know there's a double block up. So I'm like, okay, either hands, or if it's tight enough to the net, I'm trying to hit over the block. If it's in system and Charlie gets me a fantastic ball like she usually does, it's like, if there's a hole in the block, that's where I know I'm going to be able to bang away. So it all just kind of depends on what the setup is. And I try and monitor that as I'm approaching up and track the block, so then I can, hit what they give me.
You mentioned that there are so many other players in this league that are terrific in terms of their hitting percentages and the ability to finish. Also, so many great setters, so many great liberos. Overall, this league is so solid with 9 teams headed to the NCAA tournament. What does it feel like to go through a season of Big Ten volleyball when you get toward the end of it and you get ready for the NCAAs?
The Big Ten is ruthless. It's every game. You got to be prepared, because especially with the 4 new teams, I mean, there's a lot of teams that can come at you really quick, and you don't realize it. So it's definitely a good prep for the NCAA tournament, and I think it's really, really exciting to have those night in and night out and to be tested on a daily basis.
Speaking of getting ready and being prepared for the NCAA tournament, I look back to the beginning of your season, before you guys even got into Big Ten play, and I spoke with Kelly Sheffield during media days about why would you schedule like this? This is as difficult as we've ever seen in the history of college volleyball. And so understandably, the year didn't start quite as well as you wanted to because of the level of competition. That being said, how much do you look back and think about how that gets you ready for a situation like the NCAA tournament?
100%. The preseason that we had was definitely a tough one, and I think that just goes to show that we're ready for any challenge. We're not afraid of it. We're leaning into things like that, and I think that's how Kelly operates, and that's how a lot of us follow into that. So I think it's just goes to show that Badger volleyball is ready for anything.
What has this ride been like for the veterans on this team? You have 5th years like yourself, Devin and Cece. You have 4th-year seniors like Yulia and Anna. So many players that have been through so many battles alongside each other. As a whole, what's the journey been like for you?
It's been amazing. These girls that I was able to transfer into was like, I couldn't have asked for a better group, because this group is so uniquely driven to be the best that we can be. And I think being able to do that together and get so many little things and experience all the games that we've had has just been something that's really, really special. So I think just going through, we've just tried to slow the game down at times and really enjoy our last season with Badger Volleyball together.
And enjoying a few more in front of that home crowd at the Fieldhouse. Open the NCAA tournament this weekend in Madison against Fairfield. How special is it to know that you have at least one and most likely a few more matches in front of one of the best crowds in the country?
It means everything. Badger Volleyball is my favorite. The atmosphere that the fans bring is definitely my favorite. Even playing from a different team and playing here is my favorite place to play. Like, absolutely. Home court advantage is a real thing, and I think Badger Volleyball solidifies that for sure.
All right, we'll finish up here, Sarah. When you look at that bracket, I know a bunch of wins have to happen beforehand for both teams, but you are the number 2 seed on the same side of the bracket, same quadrant of the bracket as the number 1 seed, Nebraska. Is that something as a team that you guys would embrace and enjoy to face the Huskers with a spot in the Final Four on the line?
I mean, 100%. As we're going through this, we're a team that is whoever's in front of us. We're looking to finish them and then move on from there. But for sure, that definitely crosses your mind in the back of it. But as we're going through the tournament, it's game by game, point by point, moment by moment, for sure.
2-time Big Ten Player of the Year, Sarah Franklin, joining us. Sarah, we appreciate the time. Congrats again. I'm glad you knew about the award this time, and we look forward to watching you and the Badgers this weekend in the NCAA tourney.
Thank you so much.
Freshman of the Year. Stark averaged more than 11 assists per set. Tops in the nation among all D1 freshmen. First Nittany Lion to win this award in a decade, Stark posted 14 double-doubles, which ranks 4th in the league among all players, regardless of class. Stark's coach is also the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Katie Schumacher-Cawley led Penn State to a share of the Big Ten title, its first since 2017, and joins her former coach and mentor Russ Rose, who was the last Penn Stater to win this award. Coach Katie, as she's known to many players, also did all of this while battling breast cancer, a diagnosis she made public earlier this fall. And we are thrilled to have a 2-for-1 deal at Penn State as both the Coach of the Year and the Freshman of the Year join us now. Katie, I'd like to start with you. I mentioned Russ Rose. You now join him on this illustrious list. It's an award he won 15 times. How surreal is that for you as someone who played for and knows Russ so well to now be part of that very same group?
Yeah, I'm truly honored, and yeah, 15 times is a lot for Coach, and it was well deserved. And I'm just really happy for this team and what they've been able to do, and credit to my staff and the players. I mean, this award is great, but I think it's for everyone in this program.
And one of those players, Izzy Stark, the Freshman of the Year. Izzy, how did Coach Katie and the rest of the staff kind of influence your decision to play at Penn State?
I think the big thing was talking to a lot of different colleges before I commit everything, but really what stood out for Penn State is they wanted me to be myself the whole time I was here, which something that I was really interested in, like being able to progress me as a player, but allow me to be myself and be my own type of player, which I really liked. Is they're not trying me to shape into what they think a great setter is, but to form me how I already was into something better.
What was the hardest part about being a freshman in this league, and was there anything that actually came easier than you expected it to come?
I definitely think the hardest thing was just kind of adjusting to the game about how people do scout you a lot more than I thought they were gonna, and they do know everything that you're gonna do, and I think just adjusting to that as I go along, and the more I get into the season, the more they know what you're gonna do, and just kind of like being able to adjust to that. But I think the thing that really that kind of surprised me was the pace of the game wasn't as fast as I thought it was going to be. It kind of just was kind of adjusting to how they're going to play against you, but the pace of it was really similar to what I've done in the past before I got here.
Katie, obviously I think Izzy adjusted fairly well. How did she meet or perhaps exceed your expectations? There were expectations that I know were very high for her coming into year one.
Yeah, Izzy came in January, and I think her coming in the spring really helped her with the training, the weightlifting. She puts the time in to be great, and I couldn't be more proud of her and what she's done and what she will continue to do here. But, I think she's a ultra competitor. She's really aggressive, and I think that's why we get along so well. Because she wants to win all the time, and she wants to put her teammates in the best position she can. And, she's really hard on herself, and we've worked on that a little bit. And, I'm just really proud of her, and she deserves this award.
Katie, I know off the court this was a tough year for you personally. I imagine physically at times as well after you announced the diagnosis of breast cancer back in October. How much more special does that make this season and what you guys have accomplished to date?
I'm just super grateful for all the support within the Penn State community, our athletic department. Pat Kraft and his staff have been wonderful. But my staff has gone above and beyond, and this team has been remarkable. And I'm grateful for all of them. And I'm halfway through my treatments, and I'm feeling good and excited to see what this team can do here the next couple weeks.
Izzy, I'd love it if you could share what the effect was on the players, the locker room, when you first found out from Coach Katie.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we wanted to really huddle around her and really support her. And it's really just shows this whole thing's just bigger than us. And we do support her. And it's crazy how so much be happening outside of volleyball, but she comes in every day to the gym, and she's like the strongest person I think I know, coming in, acting like nothing's happening outside of volleyball, and just she puts the team first, which we kind of don't like it sometimes because, there's a lot of stuff happening, but it's really cool to see how much she can get through different things, but still show up for us and everything.
Obviously also puts into perspective wins and losses, but we all know that winning is what is the name of the game when you get on the court. So let's flash back to Friday. Inside Rec Hall and the win over Nebraska. Izzy, how do you describe the atmosphere throughout and then the feeling within that team and inside the locker room after you guys clinched at that point, which was at least a share of the Big Ten title?
Yeah, it was definitely unmatched to what we've been having all season. I think about back to our first game of the season against Louisville, home opener and everything against a top-ranked team, and it was kind of that, but times two. There was a lot on the line between clenching a share of the Big Ten and then also being able to be undefeated at home in regular season and preseason. So there was a lot on the line and a lot to prove. And, after the fact, it was just kind of like wow, we did it. And it was just so cool to experience.
Katie, what was that night like for you?
It was amazing. I was so proud of the way the team competed and kept their composure. The atmosphere at Rec Hall was unbelievable. And, this community volleyball world has come out and showed such great support for this team. And it was amazing. I'm so happy for the girls. And, a goal for them was to be undefeated at home. We haven't done that in a long time. And, they remembered their goals and attacked it. And it was such a special night.
Well, let's finish here. You just brought up finishing at home, but you're not done at home because you open up the NCAA tournament there as a number 1 seed. Katie, what's your message to this team as you head into a one-and-done tournament?
Yeah, for us, it's business as usual. I mean, they're working hard in the gym right now, taking care of their bodies, and, we need to focus one match at a time and, embrace that we can be at home, because I think that's really special to keep our routine and to be on campus. So, it's every day they have different goals, and we're getting better every time we step in the gym.
Our congratulations to Izzy Stark, Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and Katie Schumacher-Cawley, Big Ten Coach of the Year. Congrats on all the success. Katie, you continue to inspire. We are obviously rooting for you as you start those second half of treatments as well beyond just this NCAA tournament. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
College football playoff rankings were released Tuesday night. Oregon holds on to the top spot. Penn State up to number 3. Ohio State falling to number 6 after the Buckeyes' surprising loss at home to Michigan. Indiana up a tick to number 9. Could the Hoosiers potentially get a home game? And Illinois, 9 wins this season. They are up to number 21. And so with all those rankings, we have a look at the bracket. Remember, conference champions, the 2 highest that are outside the Power 4 this year are SMU and Boise State. So they actually get the number 3 and 4 seeds in the bracket. Pushing a couple of teams down According to this bracket, Ohio State would have a home game against Tennessee. Penn State would have a home game against Arizona State. Indiana would go on the road to play Georgia, while Oregon would, of course, get that bye and await the winner of the Vols and the Buckeyes. Anthony Herron is with us now. Takeaways from Tuesday night. Did anything surprise you? Did anything stand out that the committee decided to do?
Well, there's certainly a lot of respect being paid to the Big Ten, the depth of this conference, and Ward Manuel was talking about it last night, just the way that the Big Ten, and especially on rivalry weekend and just kind of closing out the regular season in that manner. Yes, those data points are factored in, but also recognizing not only the relative strength of that opponent, but the intensity, the gravity of that game. And so Ohio State doesn't end up toppling that far after their second loss of the season. That stands out to me because it pays a level of respect to the conference as a whole. And so now you got the Big Ten in really, really strong position. There's not another conference out there that goes into Champ Week that feels as good, as solidified as the Big Ten does, and knowing that there's going to be 4 teams in. Now, of course, the Big Ten championship game is essentially going to be a matchup just to determine who, will it be Oregon, will it be Penn State, that ends up getting that first round bye in the college football playoff. But then from there, the team who maybe comes out as the runner-up, they're going to be a squad who you say they'll still have a great chance to host a game, likely to do so. Likely multiple teams from the Big Ten will be hosting games the way the rankings shape up right now in the opening of the college football playoff. So it's a really strong position. Love the respect they paid to Indiana as well, being solidly in the top 10. So it doesn't feel like what happens in the other games, the other matchups that are up in the air around the country, it doesn't feel like they're going to be in a position to really negate anything the Hoosiers are doing.
Well, and to follow up on that, I think you make a great point, because whether it's Oregon or Penn State that comes out losing the game on Saturday night, especially if it's Oregon, you're not falling below number 5.
Right.
And that 5 spot, that is a very desirable place to be if you have to play in the first round, because you play against the 12, the last team into the field, and then you get the 4 seed in the next round, which is likely to be one of the non-Power 4 teams, either an SMU or a Boise State. Perhaps Penn State could even land there as well. And you pointed out home games in the Midwest at these Big Ten schools on a Friday or Saturday night in late December. What a huge advantage that would be against an SEC or Southern school.
Exactly, man. You think about what it could mean to either be in Eugene or to be in State College or to be in Columbus. One of those spots where, yes, it's likely to be some
You think the
weather.
Sun Devils want to be at Beaver Stadium on December 21st?
I'm guessing that'll be a little bit unique versus what Arizona State has been accustomed to. I've called a bunch of games in Tempe in years past. They have never dealt with anything like that from a weather perspective for what they'll likely get at Beaver Stadium for that one. And looking at the kind of big picture with the committee, it did stand out to me that, some of the teams outside the Big Ten and the way they were viewed, it feels to me like the committee is valuing the way that the teams won, the way they've looked at their best, a little more so than some of the losses that have been there. A team like Alabama that has 3 losses, a couple of those really unimpressive performances that have been there, but still, being in a really solid position to have a chance to make the playoff. But goes to one of the previous points I was making, though, with the Southeastern Conference not feeling as solid with their footing as it relates to potentially having 4 teams in. But depending on how things shake out and who wins which conference where, we don't know for sure, which teams are going to represent which leagues, how many teams from each individual league go in. Some athletic directors going at it on social media,
got all sorts of
trying to make their case. Yeah, man, there's a lot churning right now. The Big Ten is in as solid a position as anyone out there.
So the championship games will have a huge impact on Sunday's release. Those are the final college football playoff rankings. And when you start to look at the Big Ten championship game, courtesy of Gatorade Game Leaders, you see 3 award winners. Dylan Gabriel, the offensive player and quarterback of the year. He'll be going up against the defensive player of the year, and Abdul Carter. And how about the Oregon defense having to deal with tight end of the year and potential Heisman Trophy finalist Tyler Warren, who Andy Kotelnicki uses in so many different ways against this Penn State defense? What do you think makes the difference for an explosive offense against a defense that loves to rack up those TFLs?
You think back to the early portion of the season when Oregon was struggling so mightily in pass protection. Dylan Gabriel was still super efficient in those games, and he had to find a way to at times extend the play, but sometimes it felt like he was thrown out of a well from within the pocket and was still able to be very explosive, very precise with his passes. And then as the year churned forward here, you saw an offensive line really come into their own. the Ducks. A few personnel changes, what Will Stein was doing schematically to make sure the ball was getting out of the hands of Dylan Gabriel in a rapid manner. Then that ended up negating. Took the starch out of that opposing pass rush because you had the quick game, the screen game, you had a lot of run after catch opportunities there for a wide variety of playmakers from the Ducks. The thing is, though, Penn State's defense is so fast.
Yes,
so you got guys on the interior like Zane Durant who can hit blocks. You got Denai Dennis-Sutton who can set the edge. And, of course, playmakers at all levels who can make plays on the ball in flight, who can chase the football like banshees. I mean, if you think about the football running away from Abdul Carter, he's as fast as any player on the field, not just as fast as any lineman or linebacker. The skill position guys cannot outrun Abdul Carter. So there's speed on the field for Penn State that Oregon's rarely had to match up with this season. So how do you get your playmakers in space when the space, the distance of that space can be closed so quickly by the Nittany Lions?
Getting playmakers in space, that'll be an interesting job for Andy Kotelnicki because you know this Oregon defense, all sorts of time to prepare for Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Then again, every other opponent has had at least a week to get ready for Tyler Warren. They use him in so many different ways,
Right.
You can't stop him. It is Penn State and Oregon in the Big Ten championship. Straight season, Nebraska's Bergen Reilly has been named Setter of the Year. Reilly's 11.1 assist set average is top 10 in the nation, and her 15 double-doubles this season ranks third among all Big Ten players. With this honor, Reilly becomes the first Husker ever to win this award in multiple seasons. And we're thrilled that Bergen Reilly is with us now. Bergen, you're the first Husker ever to win this award 2 years in a row. What does that mean to you when you think about the history of this program and some of the players that have gone through Lincoln?
Yeah, it's so special and it's such an honor just knowing all of the amazing setters that came before me here, and to be the first one to do it is really cool and really just a testament to everything that all the coaches and all that my teammates have put into me. And I'm obviously working with one of the best that came through, Kelly Hunter, and then last year Nicklin was here too. So I've had a lot of people help me get here, and I'm just really thankful for all of them to kind of help me to get this award and get this really cool honor.
It's really fun to watch you and the hitters work together. You make it look very simple, but from your perspective, what actually goes in to setting the ball where you want it to be, depending on where the hitter that you choose typically wants the ball, and how much of that communication is actually done before the play in practice? How much of it is anticipation? How much is actually in the moment?
Yeah, it's almost all just coming from practice, coming from preseason, all of that kind of stuff. Kind of knowing where the hitters are at and knowing where I should set them is really just all about our off the court chemistry, and that's kind of what makes this team so special is we have a really great bond off the court, and I think that it really shows on the court. And I just kind of have a feeling and know where they're going to be at because we understand each other on and off the court, and so that helps a lot. But yeah, it's honestly, it all comes from practice, and it comes from just hours and hours of getting reps and getting that trust and getting the confidence with each other.
How much of your decision-making in the moment is based on the momentum of an attacker, especially considering the depth that you guys have in terms of players who can hit and finish, whether Merritt's hot or Andy's hot or Taylor, I could go on and on. How much of that factors into your decision-making?
Yeah, I mean, why not set the hot hand? So that's kind of how I play is if I can set them, I will. But like you said, we have such a balanced attack, and we have so many people that can put the ball down at any time. And I think that that's something that not a lot of teams have, and not a lot of setters can say that. So I'm really thankful, and I'm really privileged with how many people that I can set at all times. But yeah, set the high hand. It's why not?
So much depth and so much fan passion. I know Nebraska fans are passionate about every sport, but you go around the country, if you see a home volleyball match in Lincoln, it is something special. Can you try to describe for someone who's never been there what a weekend home match against a top-tier opponent feels like for you guys as a team?
Yeah, there's just a buzz in the city, and you can feel it. And especially when there's football games too, then everyone's really excited. But even the days that there are football games, there's people waiting outside of Devaney for our games before the football game even starts. They'll skip the football game to come to ours. And I think that there's just really nowhere else that does it like this. And everywhere you go, people are like, hey, good luck this weekend. Like, can't wait to watch you guys. Like, there's just nowhere that you can escape volleyball. And it's something so special. And it's such a privilege to be a part of it.
Have you ever heard from opposing teams after matches inside the Devaney that talk to you about exactly how crazy the atmosphere must feel for the opposing team?
Yeah, they come in and you can kind of just see it in their eyes, like during starting lineups, that it's just unlike anything. And I know a lot of people that I've talked to after games, they just say it's so awesome that you guys have this every single game. And I think I don't think we take it for granted, but I think we kind of lose sight of how really special it is that we get that every single night.
Bergen, I'm about to talk with Lexi Rodriguez, who is named the first ever Big Ten Libero of the year. She's won DPOY twice before. You spent a couple of years together now as members of the same team. What have you learned from one of the greatest to ever do it in Lincoln?
Yeah, Lexi's special. She has taught me a lot just about being a teammate and being a leader. And like you said, she's one of the best to ever do it. And she also puts me in a lot of great positions. She makes my job really easy most of the time. And so I'm really thankful for that. I don't have to run a lot because of Lexi, but she also has just taught me so much on the court and off the court. Just being composed, being a leader, being there for your teammates. She's the definition of a great teammate, and I'm so thankful that I got 2 years with her.
No sophomore slump for Bergen Reilly. That is 2 straight Big Ten Setter of the Year awards. Bergen and the Huskers getting set for this weekend's NCAA tournament at home. Bergen, congrats again. Thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Reilly's teammate and 2-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Lexi Rodriguez, has been named winner of the Big Ten's inaugural Libero of the Year award. Rodriguez ranked second in Nebraska program history with more than 1,800 career digs and helped the Huskers hold opponents to a 148 hitting percentage this season, which ranks among the nation's top 10. Take you right back to Lincoln and welcome in Lexi Rodriguez. Lexi, this is your 3rd time being honored by the Big Ten at the end of this season with one of the main individual awards, 2 DPOYs, and now the Libero of the Year. When you start to look back on the career, what are you most proud of, both on and off the court in Lincoln?
Oh, wow. Well, there's just so much to be proud of, both on and off the court. And I think on the court, I'm just so proud to be a part of such amazing teams all throughout my career here and to just make incredible runs, whether that's in the Big Ten or in the tournament. Every single year has been incredible and filled with so many ups and downs, but ultimately just getting to compete with my teammates and getting to be in contention for a Big Ten championship every year has been some of the most amazing moments and something that I'm extremely grateful and proud of all of my teammates in this program for. And then off the court, I would just say, if you look at Husker Nation and the community aspect of things, I just think it's so amazing to have such a big impact. Every single person on our team is a role model for kids in the community and just people all throughout Nebraska. And so I think that's something that we're very passionate about and we take to heart, is just being good role models for others in the community.
And one of those teammates just had some very nice things to say about you. I know you were there to hear Bergen Reilly's comments. What did you think when she talked about your legacy that you will leave behind in Lincoln?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very bittersweet. And I love Bergen so much. She's been so amazing these past 2 years and been someone that I'm just grateful to be her teammate. And it's been cool to see kind of where she's gone in her 2 years. And also reflecting back, it's just crazy to think that my time here is almost over, just because at one point, not too long ago, I was exactly where she was. So it's kind of weird to think that I only have a little bit of time left.
We'll get to that in just a second. But when I watch you and I watch your ability to dig balls that seem impossible to dig, I wonder how. So how much of that is knowing where the ball is going to go before the attacker even puts it there? How much is simply the instinct and athleticism to get to the spot that you have to get to?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm pretty athletic, but I think most of it comes from that ability to read and to kind of get in the right spots. And I want to give a huge shout out to our blockers because, it's a lot easier to read when our blockers are set up in great positions. And so that makes my job so much more easier. But yeah, I would say a big part of it is just trying to get in good positions and then just trying to react from there. You don't have a lot of time, so I would say you have to be pretty fast with reactions, but a lot of it is that reading aspect.
So I want to know, are there more digs in your career? I just mentioned over 1,800s, or more floor burns and other occupational-related injuries that you've suffered throughout your 4 years in Lincoln?
I would say it's pretty close. I don't know if there's that many floor burns, but definitely a pretty narrow gap there.
You have some matches left to play. You open NCAA tournament this weekend at home, but you did start to talk about what your career has included. Big Ten championships, Final Four runs, volleyball day in front of more than 92,000 people. Have you allowed yourself to start to look back and reflect on a career that, even if you make a deep run here, is going to come to a close in about 3.5 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. It's kind of, you kind of have to at this point because we don't really have a choice. It's going to come to an end, like you said. But yeah, I think I was starting to look back on just everything that I've been a part of since I've been here. And it's just crazy to think that at one point I was a freshman who was playing her first Big Ten volleyball game. And then, like you said, it's been such an amazing journey filled with incredible experiences. And I could have never imagined that I would be sitting here with all of the list of things that myself and this program has done in the past 4 years. But it has truly been life-changing and incredible, and I'll forever be grateful for every opportunity I was a part of.
Well, let's finish with what would be a storybook finish, and that would be a national championship at the end of this run. What has to happen for you guys to make that happen this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of our core things throughout this whole entire year have been our serve, block, and defense, and I think that we've done an amazing job throughout the Big Ten season of, like you said, limiting teams and keeping a low hitting percentage. And then just keeping our service pressure up and focusing on our first contact. And so I think if we can continue to do those things consistently, which is what is the heart of Nebraska volleyball, then I'm hoping we can make a pretty deep run and get the job done.
All right, Lexi Rodriguez needs a little bit more space in that trophy case. Lexi, congrats, and we appreciate the time. Look forward to watching you guys in the NCAA tournament starting this weekend.
Thank you.
Oh, take a look at the Wednesday big board. There is action everywhere, including here on the Big Ten Network. A huge tripleheader. Ohio State takes on Maryland. Michigan State battles Minnesota, and 12th-ranked Oregon faces USC. Coverage starts with the tip-off show at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Developing news, Cade McNamara, former Michigan quarterback, now former Iowa quarterback, has entered the transfer portal. Now McNamara is seeking a 7th season, so he'll have to request a medical hardship waiver from the NCAA dating back a few seasons ago if season 7 is going to happen. Meanwhile, another season will not happen for Kirk Campbell as OC at Michigan. Sharon Moore making that announcement on Tuesday. Campbell was the quarterbacks coach for J.J. McCarthy and the Michigan team in 2023 before being elevated to OC this season when Moore became the head coach. We break down every school's recruiting class on a 2-hour Big Ten Live Signing Day special coming up today at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. As for guys who didn't care much about recruiting rankings or NFL draft grades, here's Tom Brady on a subject and 2 teams he knows very well.
I think a lot of it is you define the type of player that you want, and you define the type of team you want to build, and then you find players that have those skill sets physically and those values kind of mentally, emotionally. Michigan is a very tough, hard-nosed team. They run the ball very well. You know, they haven't been great throwing the ball, but if I looked at Ohio State's strengths and we says they have a great 7-on-7 team. They got guys they can throw the ball to. In the second half, they don't even target their best players. So to me, it's like I may as well have been out there playing receiver for Ohio State. I can't run. I couldn't catch. But it doesn't matter if you don't throw me the ball, just like they didn't throw a lot of their best players the ball in the second half of that game.
Note, Tom Brady did not need to run or catch. I think he did just fine with that right
Very
arm.
slow. Very
Two
slow.
more minutes
Good
with
at
Anthony
football.
Herron. Yeah, but you can go ahead and look at that 40 times, and then you
Right.
go ahead and look at the Super Bowls and tell me which is more important. More Super Bowls than it took him
He
seconds
did pretty
to run
well
the
for
40.
himself.
You know what? He makes a good point about Michigan because it may be underachieving in terms of wins and losses, but a ton of toughness. As a matter of fact, one of the Michigan players who was a huge factor in that game, had an interesting quote, is part of your year-ending Brute squad.
That's right.
And that's Kalel Mullings as you look at this group of 8 fine-looking individuals.
Yeah, when we throw this up on the screen, man, I don't usually have running backs and skill position type guys in my Brute squad, but Kalel Mullings, he's got a superhero type name. He played in that fashion throughout the season for Michigan, especially at the biggest moments. But when you think about the offensive guys, Josh Kreutz, of course, his future Hall of Fame dad as a center just defined grit, and Josh is cut from a very similar cloth. Zach Horton for IU. He's a player who he always took you to the fight. In Indiana's very versatile and well-rounded offense. Hayden Large, not named after the coach, named after the TV character who's named after the coach. Defensively, Jay Tawia, he was always a great run stuffer and just got better and better penetrating for UCLA throughout the season. Jamari Caldwell, he's a player who will have a big impact for the run defense of Oregon every single time they take the football field. He is a space eater, 2 blocks every time, and no one can move him. Kind of the antithesis of that is Zane Durant, what he does for Penn State's defense. A little bit undersized, but underappreciated as well because of, having Abdul Carter on one edge, Denai Dennis Sutton on the other edge, playmakers at linebacker and DB. But when you look at their film, the interior of Penn State's defense is always going the advantage of the Nittany Lions because of Zane Durant on there. And then you think about a guy who brings the fight every single time he steps onto the football field. Sebastian Castro, the Iowa Hawkeyes, is an apex predator at the height of the evolutionary chain. Every position that Phil Parker has asked him to play in recent seasons, he has done so with physicality, with violence, with speed. One of the best players and toughest in the country.
If you've watched us in the past, you knew Ant wasn't leaving without mentioning a Hawkeye defensive player. Otherwise, he wouldn't be let back into the borders of Iowa
No
City.
doubt.
That'll do it for this edition of Big Ten Today.